Hello, hello, test.
Hello, Commissioner Golde. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
Pretty good. Commissioner Villarreal, you are muted, but you do have a quorum when you're ready to start. You're good.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. I'm calling this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is November the 19th of 2020. First item that we have is a roll call, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Erasmo Villarreal,
Present.
Commissioner Jose Tellez,
Present.
Commissioner Jorge Dominguez,
Present.
Commissioner Rafael Dueñas,
Present, here I am.
Commissioner Abraham Lugo,
Present.
Commissioner Johnny Narvaez,
Present.
Commissioner Raul Ugalde,
Present.
Commissioner Larry Dovalina,
Here.
and Commissioner Carlos Flores. Commissioner Carlos Flores. Mr. Chairman, you do have quorum.
Thank you very much. The next item that we have is the consideration of the approval of the minutes of the meeting of November the 5th, 2020.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to excuse Commissioner Flores, if I be in order.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. We have a motion. Do we have a second? Do we have a second?
Second advice.
Second by Narvaez. All those in favor of excusing Commissioner Flores?
All right.
Aye.
Very much. Thank you very much. The next item is the consideration of the approval of the minutes of November the 5th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of November 5th, 2020. That advice?
Okay, do we have a second?
Second, Ugalde.
All right, only those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item we have is citizens' comments, and Kirby will give you 60 seconds.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. It does take a minute for the public to call in when we put this up because there's a lag between what we're seeing right now and the broadcast that's being done on Spectrum Channel 1300 and on the city's website. So I'll just use these few seconds to reiterate that it really helps the audio quality, not only for the public that will be watching on the broadcast, but also for the YouTube video that will be a public record. Really helps the audio quality if you mute yourself when you're not talking. Even if you can't hear it, it can create feedback for others. So I really appreciate the muting. If you happen to forget, I will mute you, but I don't do that to be rude, just to preserve the audio quality. So thank you everybody for understanding that. And if we have anybody call in from the public, our staff will alert you.
Okay, is there anybody in the line?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much. The next item, staff presentation. This is item 5A, presentation of the Parks and Recs Department Open Space Master Plan.
Yes, our Parks Director, Mr. J.J. Gomez, will be presenting this item, and he'll be presenting about a 5-minute presentation, and then he'll open it up for questions or comments from the Planning Commission.
Very good.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Mr. J.J. Gomez for the record. We bring before you the master plan from the Parks and Rec Department for your approval. First of all, before I even start, I want to thank my staff. Here with me is Ms. Anita Stanley, and over there I see now working for the Planning Department, Ms. Gracie Briones, that had a lot of input into putting this together. It's been a couple of years in the working, so I know we showed you all the link. We shared you the link with you all to as far as what the master plan looks like. Hopefully we can put it to work and tie it in with everything we want to do here for the city. And looking forward to hopefully taking it to council and taking it from there. As you can see this in the slide that you see there right now, it's the parkland open space master. It addresses our parklands that we have right now, the development and maintenance of the facilities, the recreation programs, the administration, operation, maintenance that we need to do, and the funding opportunities. It's important that we pass this master plan because it opens up now for that we can go out there and seek out grants with the Texas Wildlife Commission, the different grants that are out there that 99% of them require some type of master plan. So this hopefully will open up the door for us now that we can apply for different grants for parks around the city. Why plan now? Well, it was last done in 2008. Been 12 years ago since it was last done. So I know it's been in the works. So our goal was to have it done by the end of this year, which it looks like we did. Once we go through you and take it to council. It recommends further enhancements of the operations for our department and where we need to improve, where we're deficient from, and where we want to go. So we can go on to the next slide. Okay, how did they come to the conclusion of this? So they had a stakeholders meeting along with the public as well. They took it to our. We visited more than various times with our Parks and Rec Advisory Board. Had open houses in different districts of the city, and all districts of the city, to get their feedback. And also they gave an online survey that people can share their thoughts and their feedback as well. After doing that, they give us an analysis and summary of recommendations for needs and preferences that we need, preliminary recommendations that we're going to go with. And then we finished with the draft, and now we're just waiting on the last step there, which is a final approval that's pending. Okay, what the recommendations that they gave us here in this master plan is the levels of service that they recommend. It's categorized by the parkland, what type of parks we need, how can they be accessible to the public, recreational facilities, rec centers, different areas that we have around the city, and then recreational programs that we offer right now, and that they advise us to hopefully offer in the near future. On the levels of service assessment types, demand-based assessment, what does the public need? What are they asking for? What resources do we have? And what service do we want them for us to offer? Now, this is just a recommendation. It is not a set in stone map. So, okay, you need to follow this. It is a recommendation that we follow. And then we can, of course, if we have to deviate here and there, depending on the resources that we have, then we can go from there. According to what they gave us 80 recommendations. Those 80 recommendations came from 6 goals that they gave us, consistent with the Viva Laredo Comprehensive Plan, which is very important for you to understand that. They focus on operational regulations, the policies, the programs, and the studies. It addresses some financial investments as well as park improvement fees and whatnot. And these are the 6 goals that you have here in front of us. I don't want to go through each one of them, but it's parkland development, as you can see there, acquisition of parks. We have possibly the fees for the park that we currently have now that maybe we can change. More recreational programs, the condition of the park. As you know, we have over 100 parks, so we got to maintain them as well. Connecting all the linear parks into one big old parks that we can offer bicycles and pedestrians and everything together, so we can tie it in together with all the main parks. And of course, the operation, the administration, and the maintenance of all these of our department. And this table that you have here, it shows us, and if you're looking at the table, it shows us currently what we have right now, the recommendation that they gave us, where we at right now. Do we have a surplus? Is there a deficit? And where do we want to be in the next 20 years? So that's kind of where the plan that we want to target. Of course, nothing set in stone, but we want to be able to hopefully have some kind of roadmap where we want to take our department to. Recommendations, for example, the trail and linear parks and greenways, we want to be able to tie up all the parks together. And for example, we'll have a trailhead with the bicycle trails and bicycle lanes, so that we can tie everything together as one unit. And hopefully, regulations as far as trail dedications, how to connect all these trails together, which we currently have some now, but we still got to work on that, and have one big old linear parks that we want to do for the department. So,
Judge, I'll make a note that the Laredo active transportation plan correlates with this. We've made sure both plans are congruent in the recommendations that are coming in the active transportation plan with bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure, and then also the parks master plan as well. So they are both saying the same thing.
correct. And the last thing they gave us here was a recommendation or a checklist of park assessments that, and through each park, we'll go and we have a little assessment. So, okay, this is what deficient is. This is what you have good working. This is where your deficient is, so that we can kind of keep an inventory of what we have and what we need to fix and what we need to, how we can use it better, maybe to generate some type of revenue. And that's the little checklist that we want to use now in our department to better all the facilities that we have. One of the target hires that we want to have is in working with Kirby and everybody here is that the main thing we want to have, we want to hire a park system planner that we can work together with the park, with the planning department, and to be able to tie in with with the parks and everything that, with all the subdivisions and planning that's going on in our city. In a nutshell, gentlemen, Mr. Chair and committee, this is what it is right now. I know it's a big old document, but if you have any questions, we're open up to here with me is Ms. Anita Stanley, also that we can possibly answer any questions or any concerns that you may have.
And just a little bit of information when you're ready, commissioners and chairman, what you would be doing is sending a recommendation to council, either positive or not, for the adoption of this plan. So you're not adopting it here, you're just sending a recommendation to city council who at a public hearing will hear it as well as take input from the public.
Correct. Thank you, Kirby.
This is Deus. I have a question for Director Gomez.
That's okay, Joe. You can call me Coach.
It's all right. You really will. As far as I know that we're having a hiring freeze, or there's financial constraints with the request for a park system planner. Is there a way that there would be one person dedicated at the Planning and Zoning Commission to integrate that? Because one of the many times we've had issues is we get these preliminary master plans with the idea that there's going to be parkland dedication, but there's no long-term integration with the Parks and Rec department. And a lot of this is before your time. But is there a way that we can have one person there at Planning and Zoning that, because we have many talented people there, to focus on that?
Good question, Joey. That's exactly what this person, it's already clear to be hired, where it's out already. Well, hopefully we can put it out pretty soon so that he or she can just specifically what you're asking there is work with the planning, know what parks are coming up, and they can coordinate with all these activities going on, especially that you all pass and plan and work closely hand in hand with Kirby and his staff, so that we can make sure that we have a checks and balances for everything. So that is already in the process. It should be coming out here pretty soon. I know there was a hiring freeze, but the city management gave us the okay to go ahead and do that. And he or she will have an office here, and pretty much will have an office also in the building department, and working hand in hand with Kirby's department.
Good.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about it because I know we try our best, and I know Gracie was helping us as well, and doing the transition. But it's a big job. It's a very important job, and I think we need to get somebody who's going to come in here that's going to help us with that and make it best for all departments in the city.
No, Coach, I want to give you, I looked at your packet and it's very well done, and unfortunately it's very overdue, and I'd like to say thank you that we're actually giving the parks the attention that it deserves.
Thank you, Joey. Appreciate that very much. It means a lot, and I will definitely pass that to our rest of the department. I'm just happy to be the director, but I got a great staff that will help us put it together, and we're working on it.
Very good. Anybody else on the commission have any comments or questions?
This is Larry Dovalina. are you still accepting pocket parks? I heard you mention that you had over 100 parks, and I realized that the plan that was there before was done by half as well. And back then, we had decided many years ago that we were going to do regional parks. And the reason we were doing regional parks was because you couldn't get enough staff or money to take care of the parks maintenance and other amenities that had to be done when you had little pocket parks all over town. Are you still doing that, or is this plan addressing that issue to where you're going to create regional parks? The reason McNavo is there, the reason Central Park is there, the reason El Eden is there, the reason Santa Rita is there, the reason Liberty Hills and that other area up there on Hilltop is there is because we pushed for them back then. And so I wonder if somehow you've gotten away from that and moved in a different direction.
Yes, sir, Mr. Luna. I'm glad you brought that up. One of the things that we've coordinated with HEP is that we need to get away from these pocket parks, because you hit it right on the head. The maintenance takes a lot of time for our guys to go in there and clean it up, and you know, we don't have enough staff. Right now we currently have, just to give you an idea, PRCA, which is the Park and Recreation, the federal agencies, requires one worker for every 8 acres. Right now, we're about one person for every 12 to 15 acres. So we're shorthanded, and I understand that with the times we're going on. But to answer your question, I'm definitely trying to get away from the pocket parks, sir. We need those bigger regional parks so we can be easier to we have more people, staff that can take care of that. And we did show this recommendation to this agency, and little by little, we're trying to stay away from these pocket parks, sir, to answer your question.
So are you going to propose that there be a financial contribution instead of park space from the people coming forward in asking for approval for their subdivisions and master plans?
Correct. Yes, sir. That's what we want to. That's what we want to do. For example, if you're right now, the ordinance says if you're subdivision with a mile and a half of a park, we can use that money, the park improvement fee, to go take it to another park. So if there's for example, there's a subdivision near North Central Park that's real small. It's probably about 15, 20 lots, right next to the country club. We would like for that money to go put it into North Central Park, which is about a mile and a half, less than a mile and a half from there. So that's kind of what we're pushing to, sir. And that's so that we can, better our parks as well too. But try to give us money in lieu of, in other words, instead of building those pocket parks.
Great.
Yes, sir.
All right, anybody else have any questions?
Yes, this is Ugalde. I have a question. Hello?
Okay, go ahead.
On your implementation chapter, I'm looking for some kind of a status update, or how often you'll give updates, and to who you will give those updates. For example, if you were to give those updates every year, because some of your proposals or your implementations have a timeline of 1 to 2 years, 3 to 5 years, and some are ongoing. But most of us, we're only here as long as we are, and then we're out. So I'm just wondering if you have any kind of update status reporting timeline, whether you come back to P&Z a year from now and give us a status on some of the projects you have here.
Sure.
That were 1 to 2 years.
So, Mr. Ugarte, normally it's recommended every 5 years we got to update the master plan. And long as I'm here, that's what I want to shoot for, to get those 5 years. So my goal, or it's going to happen, that we would like to report to you all at least once a year, at the end of every year, to see where we are in progress, where we at, what's needed, what process we're going at the end of every year, at least once a year. If like to, we can do it twice a year, but at least once a year, and around this time of the year, to give you all the status of the assessments and what's going on with all our parks. So I think that normally will be about once a year.
Okay, but that's not part of your plan, right? That's not dictated on the plan here.
No, sir. No, but that's not dictated in there, but in talking with staff, that's what we're looking at, that we can update you all. And also, like, same thing I told the Parks Board Committee, is that we would also gonna update with them once a year as well, to keep everybody in the loop as far as what's going on. I know
Yeah,
it's
I
not
think
there
that
in
should-
stone, but that's what we want to do. So that's what I want to do, sir.
I have a strong feeling that that should be mandatory.
Sure.
Even if you have nothing to report, just report there's nothing to report, because most of the time these plans get initiated and then everyone forgets about what happened, and you have different commissioners that come in and no one knows what's going on until 10 years from now or 5 years from now when you have to update the plan.
Right. I agree. No, sir. Now I put it in stone. We're going to do that at the same time that we bring it to the Parks Board. We'll bring it at the same time to the P&Z as well.
Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Very good. Does anybody else on the commission have any other questions or comments?
Soy Dueñas para el récord.
Okay,
Yo estoy de acuerdo con mis compañeros comisionados, con Ugalde. Nos falta información, nos falta el costo de cuánto va a costar este master plan, el desarrollo, el mantenimiento, cómo se van a obtener los fondos, pero más aún yo quisiera conocer los planes. Yo vivo cerca del North Central Park y es infame el trabajo que han hecho ahí, infame. Quitaron toda la vegetación, había venados, dejaron muy pelón ahí. Primero lo dejaron bien, la primera etapa, la última etapa está horrible. Yo los invito a que recorran esa parte del norte, la parte norte del Parque Central Norte, y vean el daño que hemos hecho tan grande a la ecología. Por favor, les sugiero que revisen bien su plan, revisen lo que están haciendo. Nos falta dinero para limpiar, para tener limpio todas esas partes. Venimos de un año complicado económicamente, toda la ciudad, todas las personas que aportamos taxas, no estamos muy bien ahorita, y creo que es un gasto que, como es a largo plazo, lo podemos hacer esperar un poco. Nuevamente, quiero que por favor revisen el trabajo que están haciendo en el North Central Park. Están echando a perder toda la vegetación. Quisiera compartirles unas fotos, no vine preparado para eso, pero les voy a enseñar las fotos, les voy a mandar las fotos de cómo estaba ese parque tan precioso con venados, y ahora es un terreno pelón y no hay nada. Muchas gracias, no estamos listos para esto tampoco. Gracias.
Gracias, Mr. Dueñas, lo agradezco. Si acaso me gusta, si me puede compartir sus retratos conmigo, me manda su email, le mando mi email, y estoy de acuerdo con usted. Yo vivo cerquita de esas casas, yo vivo de ahí cerquita de ese parque también, y es mi home park, como quien dice, y siempre tratamos de hacerlo mejor. Y yo sé que sí hay venaditos y hay varios animales que todavía andan corriendo por ahí, pero sí, nosotros como de parque queremos hacer que es lo mejor para todos. Y lo que podemos hacer, por favor, si me puede mandar retratos, y se lo agradezco, para que así podamos compartir también con el departamento de Environmental, ¿verdad? Porque ya les dije yo que antes de que movamos un árbol, vamos a ver qué dice Environmental, para que sepamos que no nomás se va a hacer cualquier cosa, no es para cuidar ese, no nomás ese parque, todos los parques también.
Con mucho gusto, Juan. Estamos pendientes y se los mandaría a todos los comisionados también. Gracias.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
thank you. Does anybody else on the commission?
Having been involved with the tree ordinance, if in fact what Mr. Dueñas is saying, how were you guys able to violate the tree ordinance and go in there and sparsify the land? Did you not pay attention to the ordinance? Whoever did that work?
Mr. Dovalina, I was not around, sir. I just been on board for about a year and some couple of months. I don't know how to answer that question to you, because I don't know who as far as who was followed, right? Who made the plan, or who was the one that did the actual coordinating of it. Mm-hmm. But so I can't answer that question, because I wasn't here when that was done.
You are familiar with the tree ordinance?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And you've read it, so you're aware of it.
Yes, sir. Oh, yeah. Yes, okay, sir. And we are familiar, and believe me, I'm big on that, and I want to make sure that we follow it, sir. And
Okay.
be careful that if we're going to move a branch, make sure we follow all the rules and the ordinances that is written.
Okay.
All right. I think we've had enough input from the commissioners, and we do have a very long agenda. We need to move on, and I want to thank Mr. Gomez for your presentation. It was a very good presentation, very good, and I think you're right about the master plan being overdue. HAP has been doing the city's master plans for, I'm going to say, over 20 years, maybe more, maybe 30, but they're a good outfit. With that being said, now I'm going to ask the commission, what are the wishes of the commission?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Dominguez, I'll make a motion to approve and send it to City Council.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
This same,
That's not on the agenda.
Yeah, just a point of order, you're just sending a recommendation to city council, not approving.
I will.
It says presentation by staff. It doesn't say anything about making a recommendation.
Wow. I believe that the proper motion would be that we recommend to city council to approve the item, because all we can do is make a recommendation. And so I would, original person who made the motion, to recommend to city council to approve the motion.
I disagree. The way the motion, I mean, the way the item is listed on the agenda, you can't, you can do is discuss it. And if you have the attorney ask him to do that, it's a violation of the open meeting law.
I'm holding on the recommendation pending Mr. Redondo's recommendation. Mr. Redondo.
Yeah, I think Larry is got a lot of experience, and in reading this thing and looking at it right now, he is absolutely correct. This is just a presentation. It is not listed correctly for us to make any kind of a recommendation. It was just supposed to be a presentation to us. I think what you're going to do, Kirby, is to bring back an item that just says, you know, a recommendation, because the way this is worded, it is not worded for the commission to do anything with it.
That's correct. There is an explicit requirement where we're changing the rules of development. This is a plan for the Parks Department that they wanted to present to the commission as a you know, to get your input like that you've just given, but there is not a need for you to send a, you know, it doesn't require it to come here as part of the process. The main point was they wanted to get your input.
Mr. Chairman, I will recall my motion based on Mr. Dovalina's comment, and I think it needs to be brought back to us.
No, I think the best thing to do is, like Kirby said, we've seen the presentation, we've given you input, and that's about as far as we can go with that right now. Okay? So that being said, and that's the end of that action item. The next item that we have then is going to be the discussion.
Mr. Chairman, committee members, thank you very much.
You bet. Mr. Gomez, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Discussion with possible action on, what is this? Regarding an ordinance amendment to Chapter 24, Article 3, Section 24.56.2 and 24.56.5 of the City of Laredo Land Development Code to allow funds to be used for the purpose reasonably related to parks. Yes, sir.
Chairman, we have David Arredondo from the legal department here from the city attorney's office to provide a brief presentation here on the changes that they plan to do to this.
All right.
Good evening, commissioners. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm bringing this forward at the request of the council member. Basically how the ordinance reads right now, it's right there. It's basically, it says parkland improvement funds are to be used exclusively for the acquisition, development, or improvement of parkland. Full stop. We have a request from a council member who's interested in putting traffic control devices in the streets adjacent to parks because of, I think he mentioned 2 incidents where he's had some sort of auto pedestrian accidents. And so he wanted to open that up to allow for traffic control devices on the streets adjacent to parks out of that fund. And in reviewing it legally, we think it starts to kind of blur the line between a parkland dedication ordinance and an impact fee. And the importance of that is that parkland dedication ordinances generally receive pretty much favorable treatment under Texas law. They're pretty well established. If someone tries to challenge it, they're probably not going to be very successful. As far as impact fees, those, I mean, they can go either way, depending on the court and the impact fee assessed and things like that. And so our position, we feel that it maybe starts to blur the line where our parkland ordinance ends and an impact fee begins. And so we think it might be subject to a legal challenge, and that we wouldn't be subject to otherwise if we just left it as is.
Okay. All right. Is that it? That's your presentation?
Yes, and I'm open to any questions that y'all might have.
All right. I will make a comment on that, because when I read this ordinance, I have to agree with your interpretation. I do not believe, when I saw the way it's being proposed, I looked at the same thing you're talking about. I saw this as an impact fee, something that is totally against the way this ordinance is written, and this particular ordinance should not be changed to include anything else. That is my comment, and I'm willing to listen to comments from other commission members.
This is Deus. I would agree with Commissioner Chairman Villarreal. One of the biggest complaints we already have to begin with is that the parkland fees are not even used close to the area, and this further extends it even more overbroad. So I would concur with Chairman Villarreal.
I concur as well. I think the presentation that was done just a few minutes ago basically tells you that there's not enough funds for the current parkland that's even there, and diverting funds from it to start working on speed bumps and other crazy things, I don't think would be something that would be beneficial to the community overall.
That's true.
I agree with Mr. Marina and Mr. Diaz and Chairman, Commissioner Dominguez. And Ian said that there's not going to be any changes. I think we're not supposed to do any action on this.
Okay. All right. Anybody else on the commission want any comments on this? Okay. With nobody else, what are the wishes of the commission?
Well, I believe it is listed that we're supposed to give a recommendation.
No, it is listed. This one is listed correctly. This is discussion and possible action. This one is listed correctly. So, we need a motion on this item.
I make a motion to recommend the city council to deny the amendment to the ordinance.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
Okay, we have a second. Anyone who is not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Who provided the second on that, Commissioner?
Who was the second on that?
Dominguez.
Commissioner Dominguez.
I was.
Okay, George. Okay.
Okay.
All right. We're now ready for the vote. Anybody who's not in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. But none heard. The motion is to deny the recommended change. Thank you. The next item that we have is public hearings. The next public hearing is amending the zoning map of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 1 and 3, block 7, Delmar Village, located at 6826 and 6930 Springfield, from B1 to B3. Kirby?
Yes, sir. The applicant is Gutierrez Rental Offices LLC, the owner applicant, and Linda Gutierrez, the representative. You read the address, and you noted that they're requesting a zone change from B1 to B3, which is our community business district zone. The proposed use is commercial in order to get a bigger sign. is what they told us. And we sent out 15 letters. There were 0 for and 0 against. This is the general area. Here's an aerial map showing the property on the corner here. This is a view of the commercial development. This is B1, which is here it's just office. So B3 would allow additional uses, but it also allows them to get a bigger sign, which is what they say the reason they're seeking a B3, so they can get a bigger sign there. Here's the zoning. You see the property includes these 2 lots, and it is adjacent to a B4. And here is the future land use map, which designates this area as neighborhood mixed use. Staff supports the proposed zone change. It's in conformance with the future land use map. This area being neighborhood mixed use, B3 is acceptable in the neighborhood mixed use. The uses that are in B3 are acceptable in neighborhood mixed use. Complies with all the standards, and we don't think it'll have an adverse impact. Even if they wanted to, if the reason they were doing this was to change and add additional uses, we still feel like that would fit in with the commercial in the area, even if they want to do more intense uses. And here's the proposed motion. And when you're ready, we can open the public hearing and get the applicant on the line.
All right. Let's go ahead and get the applicant on the line.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, I do have Ms. Linda Gutierrez, the applicant, who is available to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Commission has questions for Ms. Gutierrez.
Ms. Gutierrez, you're more than welcome to address the commission.
Yeah, this is Linda Gutierrez, and I'm the owner of the property. I heard the presentation of my application, and I'm pleased with the way it was presented, which is really on target with what I believe. And other than that, I have no comments.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for either the planning staff or the applicant? With no questions being heard from anyone, can I have a motion?
Is those public support don't change.
All right, there's a motion by Joe Tez. Do we have a second?
Second, Vice.
Second, Dueñas.
Second by Dueñas.
That's correct, Dueñas.
All right, all those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Sorry to interrupt, Commissioner, but we need to open the public hearing and see if there's any public comment.
We had public comment.
Rafa, can you please mute your line?
Yes, sir.
Kirby, I thought we had already had that public comment.
Or maybe we did. I'm sorry. It didn't sound like
it came on, and that's under the public comment, public hearing. She was the one that was on the line to speak. Is there anybody else?
There's nobody here, Kirby.
Okay.
Okay, nobody else. So then we do have a motion and a second on the floor. And anybody who is not in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. With none heard, motion carries. The next item. This is a public hearing amending the zoning map of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 7, block 1, Hilltop subdivision, phase 1, located at 406 Hilltop Road, from B3 to B4. All right. Yes, sir. Kirby?
Yes, sir. The Kirby Snyman here, planning director. Edward Foster is the applicant. And you mentioned the property address and that they're requesting to go from B3 to B4, which is highway commercial. This is our most intense commercial district. The proposed use is a diesel mechanic shop. We mailed out 12 letters to surrounding owners within close proximity. We received 0 for and 0 against. This is the general location. Here's an aerial view just off Hilltop Road. Here's a street view of the lot. This is the current zoning. You can see it's B3 in pink, and the red is B4. So it's adjacent to both B3 and B4. And here's the future land use map showing again neighborhood mixed use. Staff supports the proposed zone change. In this case, the future land use designation of neighborhood mixed use doesn't support the B4, the most intense commercial. However, given that the surroundings have B4 already in it and that this is a pretty intense commercial district right next to the freeway, we feel like that this use is compatible with the location, especially in proximity to I-35 and the surrounding uses. Here's the proposed motion, a motion to recommend approval or denial. And when you're ready to open the public hearing, here's the number for the public and
right.
The applicant on the line for you.
We will open the public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak either for or against this item, we will be willing to take their information.
Mr. Chairman, I do have Mr. Edward Foster, who is available to the applicant, who is available to answer any questions that the commission may have.
All right, put him on.
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good evening. Yeah, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Foster, the applicant?
I have a question, Mr. Sherman. This is Mr. Dominguez. What size of lot is that? Is it 1 acre?
I believe it's just under an acre.
One of the concerns that I have, Mr. Sherman, is that being a diesel shop, it might create a lot of, it will take a lot of space for a diesel shop. Will the owner be able to provide parking, and we wouldn't have anything to show us where the shop is going to be, any parking that is going to be there, or they're going to be invading the street? As it is, we have a lot of traffic there, and that's my concern.
Yeah, I think maybe to help alleviate that concern somewhat, the shop's going to be located there, but there's a 5.5 acre tract behind it that I don't know what map you're looking at specifically, but on my packet you could look at like page 30, for example. And it's lot 1, block 1, freeway commercial plaza. It's 5 acres, over 5 acres right behind. It's abutting the back end of this hilltop property. And the owner of that property recently just purchased it from, I'm going to say us, but the principals that own that property on this hilltop lot. Separate entities, but the same people. So the 5.5 acres was a long-time tenant of ours, just purchased it a few months ago, and he needs a little bit more space to locate a shop, and he wanted to locate the shop on this hilltop lot. So parking and all that stuff would primarily be located on the 5.5 acres. He just needs a little bit more space. He may even try and incorporate, he's going to lease the hilltop lot from us at first, but he may purchase it, or he may try and bring it in, replat or something, so it becomes part of the 5.5 acres in the back.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Foster.
Does anybody else on the commission have any questions? Do we have anybody else on the line, Kirby, who would like to speak either for or against?
No one here.
All right. We have nobody else on the line. All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I move to close the public hearing and propose a motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second to that motion?
Second, Narvaez.
Second by Narvaez. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, the motion carries. Thank you. The next item is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 1, block 1602 of phase 2, Southview subdivision located at 3301 South Louisiana Avenue from R1 single family to R2 multifamily. All right. Yes, sir, Kirby.
The applicant is Aaron Gonzalez, who is also the owner, and Belia Gonzalez, who's acting as a representative. The change request, as you stated, is to go from R1 to R2, which is a slightly higher density residential district, but still relatively low density. The proposed use is a fourplex apartment. And we mailed out 31 letters to adjacent to nearby landowners, and we received 0 for and 0 against. Here is an aerial view or a map, general map location, South Laredo. Here is an aerial view of the lot. Here is a street view showing the lot. Here is the current zoning. You can see that this lot is on a block that is all R1, but it is adjacent, or it's across the street from the darker yellow, which is R2 zones, and it's kitty corner from an R3 zone, which is a higher density residential district. And here's the future land use map, which shows this block is low density residential. In this case, staff supports the proposed zone change. While the way that we currently have our future land use designations, some of the zones are in multiple land use, or multiple future land use categories. And R2 is one of those that the zone of R2 allows you to do smaller projects and also more dense projects. So there's a range there, but given that this lot, there are some constraints in this lot, this zone will not allow them to do a large multifamily project. They're pretty limited on what they can do. And given the surrounding uses, and if you look at that neighborhood, there are a lot of duplexes and multiple unit complexes. And we feel like that's a good product there throughout, that could be in many places in Laredo. So we're supportive of the project. Here's the proposed motion to either recommend approval or denial. And here is the number for the public to call in when you're ready to open the public hearing. And we also will have the applicant on the line when you're ready to speak to him.
Very good. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against the zone change, we will listen to them.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. Aaron Gonzalez on the line, who is available to answer any questions that the commission may have.
All right. Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, hello?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yes, so the property is 3301 South Louisiana, and we propose that the zoning change from an R1 to an R2. We plan to construct a fourplex there. We're currently constructing one in 1102 O'Kane, and we want to continue with another project at that lot.
All right, sir. Okay. Very good. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Gonzalez? All right. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Is there anybody else on the line who wishes to speak for or against?
No, sir.
All right. We have nobody else on the line. All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
A second, Ugalde.
We have a second from Mr. Ugalde. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries, and thank you. The next item that we have is a public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning a tract of land containing approximately 91.64 acres, more or less, out of part of Porción 38. This is the J&E more from R1 residential district to B1 and B3 to R1MH. All right, Kirby?
Yes, sir. The applicant here is Norma C. Moore, owner applicant, and James W. Puick, Junior Compass Performance Services, LLC, who's acting as representative. You described the property, the 91 acres there in South Laredo. The request is to go from R1, which is a low-density single-family residential district, to the and a few other zones, commercial zones, B1 and B3, to an R1MH, a single-family manufactured housing district that would increase the density and allow mobile homes and manufactured housing. Proposed use is manufactured housing, and we sent 90 letters to the surrounding neighbors. We received 0 for and 0 against. Here is a general location, South Laredo. Here is an aerial view of the property of this 90+ acre tract. Here is a street view showing the property undeveloped currently. Here is the zoning map. You can see the commercial on the west side, that's near Highway 83. And then you can see the rest of the remaining tract, the 80 acres or so, that is residential. That's R1. And here's the future land use map, which designates this area as neighborhood commercial and low density residential. Now, staff, our recommendation is to not support this. And the reason why has to do with the area already. I'm going to share some data with you here. Of this 92 acre tract is adjacent to over 800 acres and about 5,000 lots of manufactured housing development. And there's a little error there, but I'll share the data. We pulled the numbers today. In the entire city, we have about 80,000 housing units. Of that, about 8% in the city, or about 6,600 units are mobile homes or manufactured housing. Now, in District 1 in the south, half of that, that's all of the manufactured housing in the city, half of that is in District 1 in the south, and another 12% is in District 2. So if you add that up, we've got about 65% of all the mobile home manufactured housing is already in the south. And our comprehensive plan makes it clear that we need to have a mix of residential uses, not to concentrate any residential uses in one area. In particular, those residential uses which have some externalities. And although mobile homes and manufactured housing are an affordable product, which mixed throughout the community is a good thing, they also have some negative consequences. They're a housing product that deteriorates quickly, and there's, they tend to be a product that brings challenges when they are concentrated in an area and have the impact that they do of concentrating low-income families in one areas with school districts and whatnot. We've heard this feedback from other people before as we've gone out in the community to mix uses and not to concentrate, and that's why we're providing this recommendation here today. So the proposed motion is to either recommend approval or denial. And here's the number for the public to call in when you open the public hearing, and we have the applicant on the line when you're ready to ask them questions.
Thank you, Kirby. This is a public hearing, and anybody who wishes to speak for or against this zone change, we're willing to listen as a planning commission. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. James Puig, the representative on the line to answer questions for the commission.
All right. Yes, sir, Mr. Puig.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Puig.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. I'm Jay Puig with Compass Real Estate Investments. I'm here with Orlando Navarro, who's also with Compass Real Estate Investments, as well as our engineer, Jeff Puig, Civil Engineering Consultants. Thank you for allowing us to be available to answer any questions.
All right.
So, go ahead and share. Yes. To address the comments that Kirby made, I'm not too familiar with 5,000 manufactured home sites available in South Laredo, or 800 acres for that matter. I'm not too familiar with that. I don't know where that information is coming from, but nonetheless, we're looking for a zone change to R1MH, which is a mixed use. You could have manufactured homes, obviously, and you could have single-family residential there in the same community. And so as far as having a diverse selection, if you will, it's there. Also, considering the location of the tract of land where we're requesting the zone change, we have a natural buffer of Salito Lindo on Highway 83. So I don't know how that can continue to you know, have that entire South Laredo District 1, as you put it, to be, you know, manufactured homes everywhere. But nonetheless, the zone of R1MH allows for single-family residential and manufactured homes there. So considering what's around currently in the neighborhood, what's there in City Lindo with mixed commercial and single-family residential and schools and so on, we thought it'd be a perfect fit to be able to do that type of development there, considering, you know, schools are in walking distance, parks in walking distance, and obviously, as everybody knows, the need for housing in our town is affordable housing, for that matter, is in a great need. So we thought that it was a reasonable request for sure, considering what we know with the area and so on. So that's why we're requesting the request for the zone change. And you know, it's you know, we hope that you all look favorable on this situation. It's the developer. It's a condition of the sale of the property to be able to get this zone change. We feel that it's a favorable move for the community, for the area, and for folks in the city of Laredo, especially for folks who want to stay and live in South Laredo in District 1. So we thank you for that consideration and open to any questions that you guys might have.
Thank you. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for Mr. Puig?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Dominguez. I represent District 1, and one of the biggest needs for the community that I represent is affordable housing. I noticed on the comments on the impact analysis under, is this change contrary to the established land use pattern? It is no. Would this change create an isolated zoning district unrelated to the surrounding district? The answer is no. Now, I feel that the comments from Kirby, even though I don't really like them because it kind of discriminates some of the area by saying that that having a mobile home park creates a problem either for the owners or for the area. The owners, they have the right to live wherever they can afford, Mr. Chairman. And I think that we should allow their own personal right to buy or to look for affordable spaces. I personally think that this is a good move, not only to bring investors into the area, but affordable housing for the area that I represent. So that being said, if no one else has a comment, I'm ready to make a motion.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments?
This is Deus.
Yes, sir.
I wanted to make a comment that to further along Commissioner Dominguez's comment that many times, I know how it is in other communities, but South Laredo has a history, and many parts of Laredo, houses begin as mobile housing, and people, once that they have ownership over them, they build roots on that property and convert those mobile homes into more traditional non-mobile homes. And I think this is a good investment in that area. And I share with Commissioner Dominguez that we do have an abundant need of affordable housing. And so I'll leave it up for any other comments, but I would make a motion to approve this item.
All right, let me get through the public hearing first, okay? Just give me a second. Anybody else have any comments from the commission?
Commissioner Narvaez, you're muted.
I also I want to concur with some of the comments that have been made. I am not a fan of mobile homes because I think it's a deception for people to invest equity in mobile homes. But I've also gone through the area, and many of the mobile home developments that have been there have helped people. There is a perception by many people that are lower income that for them, these are the starter homes that they have, and these are the starter homes that they can afford. And if you go back and look at the other properties where you have the Los Angeles of the world, Santa Fe subdivision, and you start looking at those older mobile home developments that started out as mobile homes, you will see that some of these people have started to transition their mobile homes or completely replace them altogether with actual houses after they've established themselves in the neighborhood. So I wouldn't want to deny anybody the opportunity of having an affordable house. And as an advocate of affordable housing, and I'm deeply involved in affordable housing, in fact, I'm involved with 3 different apartment housing complexes. I would concur with what has already been said.
Thank you for your comments. Does anybody else in the commission have any comments?
I have a comment or a question for staff, I guess for Kirby. I know that Kirby, you're against the proposal, but when you said mixed use in the area, mixed use meaning single family home, multi-family homes, and even mobile homes. Did I understand you correctly?
Yes, a mix of all different residential types. Right now, the majority of this is zoned R1, and there aren't a lot of R1 zones in South Laredo, and I think it preserves, it's good to have a mix of uses. That's also what our comp plan recommends.
I agree with you, and I also disagree. The initial plan in theory, I think works, right? But I think we also have to look at the area and the timing. If we allow someone to do mixed use here, at this point in time, the cost of lumber doubled. So to make a single family home, you're looking anywhere north of 1,000 square feet single family home, 120,000, 150,000 in that area. The people that are buying these lots, because they're going to be into little lots, and you bring in your mobile home, you can either rent the mobile home and purchase a lot. Their price range of a home is under 100,000. Someone with 2 people earning $12 an hour can afford it. 2 people earning $12 an hour cannot afford a $150,000 home. I think we need to be cognizant of the times, and to build single family homes at this point in time in that area is going to cost a lot of money. So I'm ready to make a motion once you close the public hearing.
All right. I think, does anybody else on the commission have anything to say? Okay,
Perdón,
go ahead.
Chairman.
Go ahead.
May I comment?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Gracias, Chairman. Yo también considero, igual que los demás comisionados, los distritos 1 y 2 va la gente de escasos recursos y pueden hacerse de una casa por $40, $50,000 a 20, 30 años. Somos hispanos, somos latinos y echamos raíces. A lo mejor Kirby no comprende un poco la cultura hispana, y echamos raíces y vamos reparando nuestras casitas y las vamos dejando bonitas porque queremos vivir ahí 50 años o más. Yo estoy completamente convencido que esto es para alcanzar a la gente de escasos recursos que tengan su propiedad, y sí veo con mucho agrado que entreguemos este cambio de zona. El problema del tráfico, pues ya lo tendrán que solucionar la gente que dé los permisos de construcción, cómo trazar las calles, en fin. Muchas gracias, y sí creo que tenemos que ver también por la gente pobre en estos distritos, el 1 y el 2. Gracias, compañeros.
Commissioner, do you mind if I respond?
I just have a quick comment that I want to clear up. It's real short.
Go ahead,
I just want to clear up. I don't agree that Kirby's comments were discriminative. I think in this case, the issue is the comprehensive plan might be discriminative. So I don't agree with the comprehensive plan in this case. And I just wanted to set that record clear that I don't agree that it's not Kirby's comments. It's the comprehensive plan that's not in tune with the residents of South Laredo that do need this. So I disagree with the plan, and I agree with a positive motion whenever we're ready.
Thank you. Kirby, you wanted to say something?
Yes, just a clarification. This is not anything derogatory towards the housing type. As I said in the presentation I gave, it's a good product that has benefits. It also has challenges, especially when you concentrate it. So this is not to say we don't want to see mobile home or manufactured housing in our community. We do. It's part of the solution for a range of housing products, especially on the affordable end. However, my comment specifically deals with the concentration of mobile and manufactured housing in South Laredo, where currently 65% of it is all in South Laredo. And adjacent, you have many lots that are, awaiting development of manufactured housing. So just that clarification, it is a good product, but the concentration of it is the challenge here.
Okay, thank you. Kirby, having said that, I will go ahead and make this comment. The zoning that is being asked for allows for single-family site built as well as manufactured housing. I don't know how familiar a lot of you guys are with manufactured housing, but manufactured housing can be stripped of its wheelbase and set on the ground, which a lot of it is being done. And when you put manufactured housing on the ground, the product is a HUD-approved product. It is a very nice looking product. But the big thing on this thing is right now, it is very affordable, which is a market that is becoming very, very difficult for the average family to be able to get into housing. It is a big challenge that we have, not only here, but throughout the United States. The cost of single-family stick-built housing is really gone up, like Raul just mentioned. Your average cost of housing right now is probably going to be from a starting point of $230,000 for a small single-family house up to over $500,000, depending on where you build. That the need for affordable housing is great. I can tell you that for sure. I worked for the city of Laredo, and I did a lot of affordable housing projects in the past. We still are at the same situation where there is a great need for affordable units. Unfortunately, to do single-family stick-built housing, it has become a situation where the average working family who is an hourly employee, where both family members, husband and wife, are working, it becomes an issue where they cannot afford. This is an alternative that will allow them to become homeowners, property owners, if that's what they wish to do. Also, I think we need to take another thing into consideration here is that this project, as it develops, could be a mixture, not only of manufactured housing, but of some site-built housing. There's a lot of people who, would prefer to live in certain areas where they grew up. And so they may also be willing to say, you know what, I want to build in this area too, knowing that it'll be a mixed use type situation. That is my comment. This is still a public hearing. Do we have anybody else who wishes to speak for or against this particular zone change? Okay. Is anybody else on the line who wishes to speak for or against?
No, sir.
Thank you. With nobody else on the line wishing to speak, what are the wishes of the commission?
This is Deus. I make a motion to close public hearing even in spite of the cycle and go against recommendation to approve the zone change.
All right, sir.
I'll second that motion.
Soy con Dueñas.
We have a second from Mr. Dominguez.
Dueñas. Thank you.
Dominguez got there first. So we have a motion and a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. With none heard, the motion carries. Thank you. The next item that we have is the public hearing, amending the zoning ordinance map of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 4 D5 acre subdivision located at 7071 Highway 359 from R1 to R3. Yes, sir, Kirby.
The applicant is Jose Castillo and Nelly G. De La Torre, the owner applicants. The property address you provided. The zone change request is to go from R1 to R3. Mixed residential district or higher density residential district. The proposed use is manufactured housing. Letters sent out to surrounding property owners was 14, and there were 0 for and 0 against. This is the general area. on the east side of the city, out on Highway 359. This is an aerial view of the property, showing the lot. And here's a street view showing the undeveloped property. The current zoning, what you see in white is not in the city limits, but you can see that it is in a large area that's R1, low density residential. And here's the future land use designation, which is low density residential. In this case, staff supports the proposed zone change, while the future land use designation of this area doesn't support the R3. However, it is in line with other developments in the area, and given that the size of the lot constrains what will be done there, it will allow for multifamily development, but not high density development. And we don't think it will adversely impact the community. So here's the proposed motion to either recommend approval or denial when you're ready. And here is the number for the public to call in when you're ready to open the public hearing. And we do have the applicant on the line when you're ready to answer questions.
This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for or against the zone change, for or against.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. José Castillo on the line. Tenemos al señor Castillo en la línea para cualquier pregunta, for any questions that the commission may have.
Okay.
Adelante, señor Castillo.
Sí, dígame.
Señor Castillo, ¿usted está a favor del cambio de la zona?
Sí, sí.
Ok. Muy bien. ¿Quiere comentarnos algo?
No, nada más, o sea, para decirles que si me cambian la zona para poder poner una mobile home para vivir.
Ok. Muy bien. Okay. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Castillo?
Sí. ¿Puedo hablar?
No.
Sí, señor Castillo.
Sígale.
Sí, soy Dueñas.
Sí, yo estoy.
Perdón.
Ok, señor Dueñas.
Señor Castillo, ahí al lado de su predio veo una construcción. ¿Qué es? ¿Una iglesia? Es una iglesia, ¿verdad? Ok, muy bien, señor Castillo. Gracias. Era toda mi pregunta.
Okay. All right. Muchas gracias, señor Castillo, por su comentario. Is there anybody else on the line wishes to speak for or against?
Line, sir.
Nobody else on the line? Thank you. All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
Erasmo, I just want to make a comment because I noticed it indicates in here in the history that this was done through an annexation in 2003. From the period of 1999 all the way to at least 2006, most of the annexed properties, if you recall back then, were all brought in with the intention of creating R1s, but in fact bringing them in all as R1s to be further changed at some point in time when the use was going to be determined as to what was the appropriate use of all these properties. So it may be a misconception that somehow when they were annexed, that these properties were all intended to be R1s and they weren't. It was just a matter of convenience of dealing with the properties, and that's why they were brought in as R1s.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I concur with that. All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
I'm doing yes. Motion to approve.
Okay, sir. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Mr. Dominguez seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item, public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 10.04 acres out of 2.98 acres of land conveyed to AFW Investments Ltd. located west of US Highway 83 and south of Lomas del Sur Boulevard, from B3 to R1A. All right, sir. Kirby?
Yes, the applicant is Premier Engineering. The zone change request is to go from B3, as you mentioned, to R1A, a single-family reduced area residential district. It's a single-family zone that's slightly higher density than our R1. Proposed use is residential. 27 letters were mailed to surrounding neighbors. We received 0 for, 0 against. This is the general area map, just off of Highway 83 in South Laredo. Here's an aerial view. Now you might recall this property. It came in before as a master plan and for the area. Here's a street view showing a view of the area that's undeveloped. And here is the zoning map showing that the zoning currently is all B3 and that they're requesting R1A. And here is the future land use map showing that it includes both high density residential to the west and neighborhood mixed use to the right. Staff supports the proposed zone change. It's not in strict compliance with the future land use map. However, it is conducive to the surrounding land uses, and we don't believe it will have an adverse impact on the neighborhood, on the surrounding neighbors. Here is the proposed motion. And when you're ready to open the public hearing, here's the number for the public to call in. And we do have the applicant on the line when you're ready with questions.
All right. Thank you, Kirby. This is a public hearing, and anybody who wishes to speak for or against the zone change, for or against.
Mr. Chairman, I do have Mr. Armando Guerra from Premier Engineering for any questions that the commission may have.
All right, put him.
You're online, Armando.
Yes, yes, I'm Armando Guerra for the record, representing the client, and we support this zone change, and we concur with staff comments. And if you all have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions from the commission?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Guerra, do you own the entire tract of land going all the way to the river?
All the way to where?
To the river.
No, I think the city owns part of that.
Yeah,
that's what the Vega land was deeded to the city.
Well, we got an easement back there, 54-inch. Remember?
Yeah, pero también tenía. This is the old Lafon track, right?
Yeah, right.
At one time, we were trying to get a donation of the area along the river when we were buying property along the river. And I think if there were some way that we could talk to the owners of the property to see if we can make it happen. I know it's not germane to what we're currently discussing, but it's something that I think should be continued.
Point well taken for Kirby. All right, anybody else have any comments? With no additional comments, this is a public hearing. Anybody else who wishes to speak for or against?
There's nobody on the line, sir.
Thank you. All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
Make a motion to approve staff's recommendation for the zone change, not advice.
We have a motion.
Dueñas second.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is item public hearing amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 8 and 9, block 470, Eastern Division, located at 316 and 318 East Bustamante Street from R3 to B1. Yes, sir.
Yes, the applicant is Jesse Levin, who's also the owner. You read the property description and location. The zone change is from an R3 to a B1, as you noted, our limited business district. Proposed use is a commercial parking lot. We mailed out 13 letters to surrounding neighbors, and we received 0 for and 0 against. Here is the general area in North Central Laredo. Here is an aerial view showing the 2 lots. Here is a street view showing the current state of the lots. Here is a view of the property to the rear. So behind this lot, behind these 2 lots, this is the street view, but what was recently constructed is this building, which inside is a full basketball court and yeah, a gym. I share these extra photos just to explain in a second what the reason they're requesting this. They're requesting to change the zoning here to provide a parking lot for this structure. So they want to use these 2 lots here so that they have adequate parking for the structure that was built on the rear 2 lots. So here is a map showing the zoning of the current properties in question. It's R3. And here is a map of the future land use showing that it's designated as high density residential. Staff supports the zone change while the proposed use isn't in strict conformance with the future land use map. It is in, it will work with the land uses in the area, which are a mix of commercial and residential. And we feel like having a neighborhood, being able to facilitate a neighborhood gym is something positive that mixes well with the residential in the area. And here's the proposed motion, a proposal to recommend approval or denial. And here is the number for the public to call in when you're ready to open the public hearing. And we have the applicant on the line.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, and anybody who wishes to speak for or against.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. Jesse Levin, the property owner, on the line for any questions that you may have.
Yes, sir, Mr. Levin.
Rafa's just giving him some instruction to see if he can eliminate the background noise.
Thank you, Mr. Levin. Okay, Mr. Levin, you can, you're on the line with the commission, sir.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Levin.
Okay, so I saw that they're mentioning the parking and what it's going to be used for. So we're changing it from, I believe it's R1 to B1.
Rafa, if you could explain to the applicant that we've already given an overview of the request and that we're supporting it.
Let me ask, Mr. Levin, are you in favor of the zone change, right?
I didn't hear that, sir. What was that?
The question, Mr. Levin, is you are in favor of the zone change, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions on the commission? All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'm familiar with that area, and that building, actually, that gym has become very necessary for the community right now, because with the pandemic that we have, there has been a lot of other community members that actually make use of that. One of the reasons is that building was not in compliance. So it seems that Mr. Levin is bringing us before us the parking area to supply enough parking area and be in compliance with all the codes. So I'm ready to make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody else on the line who wishes to speak for or against?
There is no one on the line, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve the zone change, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Dovalina.
Second by Dovalina. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item, public hearing, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 1, block 5, Del Mar Village, located at 120 West Village Boulevard from B1 to B3. Yes, sir.
Yes, the owner applicant is Sandland Properties, and Linda Gutierrez is acting as the representative. You gave us the property address and description, and as you stated, they're requesting to go from B1 to B3, which is a community business district. Proposed use is commercial. They haven't specified all the intended uses, but that they want more options for their future tenants. We mailed out 11 notices to surrounding neighbors. We received 0 letters in support and 0 against. There's a general area map. Here's the aerial view of the property. Here's a street view showing that it's a commercial development. And in B1, it's basically limited to office and a few other uses. Going B3 opens that up to things such as restaurants and other uses that are more intense. Here's the zoning map. You can see the B1. It's adjacent to B1 and across the street from B4, and to the rear is R2, residential. Here's the future land use map designating this area as neighborhood mixed use. Staff supports the zone change. It's in conformance with the future land use designation, complies with all the requirements for commercial lots of this zone, and we think it'll fit in with the commercial nature of the surrounding area. Here's the proposed motion. And here is the number for the public to call in when you're ready to open the public hearing. And we also have the applicant on the line.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing, and anybody who wishes to speak for or against.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Ms. Linda Gutierrez on the line to answer any questions that the commission may have.
Okay.
Rafa, it sounds like she might have it on the background. Can you ask her to turn that off, please?
Okay. All right. Does anybody have any questions on the commission for Mrs. Gutierrez? Okay.
I'm just on my phone.
I'm sorry? I didn't hear you.
Yeah, you're on the line, Ms. Gutierrez.
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Linda Gutierrez, for the record. I am the owner of this property. I believe this property with its existence and current tenants is more compatible with a community business district zone of B3. It's already an established plaza with neighborhood mix tenants. I desire to upgrade, therefore, from a B1 to a B3. The proposed zone change is in conformance with the future land use map for a neighborhood mixed use, including B3 zoning district, and it complies with B3 zoning requirements. I thank you for this opportunity to talk to you, and I'll wait for your response, and respectfully thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gutierrez, for your comments. All right. This is a public hearing. Is there anybody else on the line who wishes to speak for or against?
No, sir, there's no one on the line.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions from the commission? With no questions heard, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve.
Ugalde, make a motion.
Recommendation, not advice.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Not advice.
Narvaez make the motion. Who makes it? Ugalde second. All right. Those who are not in agreement with the motion, signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Next item, review and consideration of the following master plan. Review and consideration and reconsideration of the North Laredo Industrial Master Plan. The intent is industrial. All right.
Overview, for the record, the applicant is North Laredo Industrial Park Limited. The engineer of record is Howland Engineering and Surveying. Approximately 520 acres, located north of Beltway Parkway and west of I-35. The zoning is M1, proposed use industrial, and the proposed number of lots is 37. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed revised master plan, comments from planning, water utilities and traffic safety, utility coordination and TxDOT, and the proposed motion.
All right. Do we have the engineer on the line?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Graciela Briones for the record. We do have the engineer record on the line.
All right.
Mr. Villarreal?
Yes, this is Ricardo Villarreal with Howland Engineering. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We concur with the staff comments. I do have a comment just for the record. Utilities comment number 3 that states that the developer would be providing a feasibility study for the development. I did speak with the utilities director, Arturo Garcia, and we did clarify this comment in that my client had previously participated with a $150,000, I guess, not a donation, but $150,000 contribution to this water feasibility study, as well as the booster pump. So the city is actually going to go to RFQ to hire another engineer to do this study and bring the booster station back online. So I just wanted to make that comment for the record. But all other comments, we do concur with them, and we are looking forward to submitting for one-stop shop. If you have any, I'm glad to answer.
Thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Villarreal?
Is this part of the Green Ranch?
No, sir. This is actually in the Ruthinger property, fronting I-35, just north of the Achar Ranch.
Okay.
Does anybody else on the commission have any questions?
Mr. Villarreal, soy el comisionado Dueñas. ¿Qué van a construir ahí? ¿Más bodegas?
Así es, señor Dueñas. Estamos proponiendo lotes de industrial y nada más estamos expandiendo o siguiendo el concepto que ya está ahí, que es industrial.
¿Cuántos lotes crees que vas a sacar ahí, Mr. Villarreal?
En total, no me acuerdo exactamente cuántos lotes son. Se me hace que estamos como en 25 lotes de industrial y de tamaño de 5 acres a 30 acres en todo el master plan. Esta siguiente fase, que es la fase 4, es la última fase en este master plan.
Mira, Villarreal, lo que he visto es que en este tipo de parques industriales como Laredo Industrial Park, que es donde está San Lorenzo, San Gabriel, ITC, Interamérica, las calles de acceso eran muy pequeñas y se hace mucho tráfico de trailers. Son peligrosas para un caso de accidente. Cada vez hay más flujo de tráfico y se complica la entrada a los bomberos. Yo no tengo problema con el desarrollo, no tengo problema con el... Conozco bien la ubicación de donde quieres hacer la extensión del parque industrial, pero sí te sugiero que las calles las hagas lo suficientemente anchas para poder tener los accesos, entradas y salidas al parque. Por mi parte, pues nada más esa es la sugerencia, calles amplias y que también hagas una ordenanza interna para que tengan el suficiente estacionamiento de poder entrar las trailers a las bodegas y que no se nos queden en las calles, porque tenemos un problema muy fuerte en Riverside, que hay muchas calles, muchas trailers en las calles y afectamos a los vecindarios. Tú ahí a un ladito ya tienes el vecindario de las minas, Rancho Viejo. Entonces no quisiéramos que tuviéramos ese problema con las gentes que tienen casa habitación. Nada más es, insisto, calles amplias y que haya una regulación para que las trailers entren a sus bodegas y no se queden en las calles. Gracias, Villarreal.
Muchas gracias, señor Dueñas. Y esto sí lo tenemos planeado. Lo bueno es que esto está en medio de 2 carreteras. La principal, que es la 35, y la nueva que van a construir, que es Ruth and Chart Parkway. Y las calles adentro de este parque industrial, sí las vamos a hacer, como dice la ordenanza, que sí son grandes, más grandes que tienen ahí en esos parques industriales que mencionaba.
Okay, thank you.
The access to the park is going to be through the proposed Ruth and Gerachar Parkway or what?
Yes, sir. It's right now, Ruth and well, it could get a little confusing. There's a Ruth and Road that's a 65 back-to-back, 5-lane road, 2 lanes going each way in a center lane. It is already connected to the I-35 frontage road, right where the old Border Patrol checkpoint is and the parking lot. That's already constructed. We're going to extend that about another, I would say, 1,500 to 2,000 feet. So we're going to have access off of I-35 as well as access off of Mercury Drive that leads to Beltway Parkway, which leads to the intersection of I-35 and Beltway Parkway. Now, after this phase, we're pretty close to connecting this Ruthinger Road to the big Achar Parkway that is currently being planned and hopefully goes under construction soon.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All right. With no other questions, what are the wishes of the commission?
Dueñas, motion to approve, please.
All right. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Lovalina. All those who are not in favor of the motion to approve signify by saying aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Next item. Review and reconsideration of El Eden subdivision master plan. The intent is commercial and residential. The purpose of this revision is to reconfigure unit 17 and unit 18. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For the record and the overview, the applicant is Vimosa 2. The engineer of record is Porras Nance, approximately 583 acres located south of Pita Mangana and west of US Highway 83 South and north of Obsidian Boulevard. The zoning for this development is R1MH, R3, B1, and B3. The proposed use is residential and commercial, and the total number of lots, the proposed number of lots is 2,446. General location, aerial view, the proposed master plan, comments from planning, engineering, and environmental, comments from water utilities and parks. And just for the record, you will see that item number 3 from parks has been scratched out. Earlier today, we did receive correspondence from the Parks Department to have that item removed from the Commission's consideration. Comments from utility coordination and the proposed motion.
All right. Do you have the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. Wayne Nance on the line.
All right.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. This is Wayne. We agree with all the comments in light of Parks and Rec number 3 being stricken, and we look forward to working on this project.
All right. Thank you. And does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Nance? All right. With nobody having any questions, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion for Commissioner Dominguez. Do we have a second? And a second for Commissioner Dueñas? All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. The next item, review and reconsideration of Lomas del Sur master plan. The intent is commercial and residential. The purpose of this revision is to further subdivide phase 16 and phase 16A into and 16B. Ralph?
For the record, applicant ALS Laredo Holdings, engineer of record, Sherfy Engineering, approximately 205 acres located east of Ejido, west of Cuatro Vientos, and south of Wormser. The zonings are R1A, R1B, R2, B1, and B3. The proposed use is both commercial and residential, and the proposed number of lots is 911. General location, aerial view, street view, proposed master plan, comments from planning, water utilities, parks, and utilities coordination, and the proposed motion.
All right. Do you have the engineer of record?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Estrada's on the line.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Frank Estrada with Sherfy Engineering. We concur with staff comments.
All right. Thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Estrada? Okay. No questions heard. What are the wishes of the commission?
Tejas, approve.
Tejas?
Dominguez.
All right. The motion is made by Tejas to approve. Is that? I didn't hear it. Is that what it is? Yes?
Tejas, motion to approve subject to staff's comments.
All right. And the second by Dominguez?
Second, Dominguez.
All right. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. The next item, review and reconsideration of the Killam Industrial Master Plan. The intent is industrial. The purpose of this revision is to reconfigure phases and realign streets. All right.
Rafa, you're muted.
Applicant, Killam Development, engineer of record, Sec Engineering, approximately 1,209 acres, located north of FM 3464 and east of 1472, approximately 172 lots, and the zoning is a M1. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed master plan, and the comments from staff at this time is that staff is recommending denial. The recommendation from the commission in the past with this item was tabled and had requested that the director of traffic as well as the engineer of record coordinate and to evaluate possible solutions to the traffic issues there in the area and reach a compromise. So no compromise has been reached at this point, so staff is recommending denial on this item. Here are some of the comments from traffic safety.
And comments from TxDOT?
And comments from TxDOT. In the proposed motion.
All right. Do we have the engineer?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we do have Mr. Seca on the line.
All right. Yes, sir.
Mr. Seca?
Go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman and commissioners. For the record, my name is Hugo Seca with Tech Engineering. I also have with me on the line Rene Arredondo, which is our traffic engineer, and Dr. Rolando Ortiz, which is the Killam Real Estate Development Manager. We do not agree with the denial. We are okay with the comments, with the rest of the comments on the from staff, except for the comments from the traffic department. We have been trying to resolve the issues with the traffic department, but we don't seem to be on the same page. But like I said, I have Mr. Rene Arredondo and Dr. Rolando Ortiz for any questions that you might have.
Okay.
We do have the traffic director here. Do you have any questions for him?
Well, I guess let's go ahead and start with the traffic director, and then we'll go to Mr. Arredondo. All right?
Good evening, Daniel McGee here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, thank you. First of all, I'm a little confused as to how the master plan is being asked to be approved. From what I saw in the title, it's all 1,200 acres. We do not look at at all 1,200 acres, we looked at a very small portion of that. We looked at an area, I think it's not more than 40 acres. So to ask you to approve the 1,200 acres is, we did not even look at that. The commission wanted a traffic impact analysis done for the whole thing. And in an effort to help the kiln development, we looked at a small piece of it connecting to Inter-America, and that's all we looked at. So the title is misleading, or I'm confused. I'm not sure which is which.
Danny, if you could just explain why your comments were on, why we didn't reach a compromise, I think that'd be helpful for the commission.
No, I understand, Kirby, but I don't want this to, the conversation that's focused on a very small piece of it to be construed that it's applying to the whole thing. I want to make sure that is very clear. Okay, if we can just focus on that one piece, then is a traffic impact analysis is supposed to tell you where you're at right now with the traffic, where you will be in the future without the traffic, developed by the development and the development's traffic, and then it's supposed to make some suggestions as to what you're going to mitigate that. That was not done with this traffic impact analysis. What they're saying is that they're going to increase the delay at the intersection by 50%, yet they're offering no mitigation impacts of that. And as you all well know, Mines Road, it's very heavily congested, and without some mitigation, I don't see how anybody could expect more traffic to be added.
So, I mean, I'll just clarify just a little bit. If you choose to deny this plat, that doesn't mean this project doesn't happen. It means that you're just put a little more teeth into, you need to bring back solutions. You had given us the direction previously. I believe Commissioner Tellez made the motion for staff and for the engineer to come to a compromise. And that compromise wasn't reached. And our traffic director tried to make some suggestions on things that could be done, and there were no, the engineer did not want to make any of the recommended improvements that would mitigate the impact. By saying denying this plat, you're telling that with this master plan and then the plat which will follow, which is that piece you're talking about, Dan. By doing that, then you say, well, they can't, what they're bringing forward here without any solutions, that's not going to work. They do have to bring back some solutions if they're going to have this much of an impact on on Mines Road.
Kirby, let me ask you a question before we go any further. Obviously, you know, we've got development here that is kind of like waiting to take off. Now, from the city's point of view or perspective, how is it that we can all work together to try to figure out, you know, I realize that, you know, the Mines Road is carrying a heavy volume of traffic. I would venture to say that obviously if we were on a 24/7 period, I mean, that would kind of, you know, be some kind of a relief, but we're not. You know, the import-export business pretty much doesn't work all night long either. But I guess the question I have for you guys, not only you, but also Dan, is we've known for some time, quite some time, that the Mines Road has been over capacity. We know that Laredo is the largest inland port. We've got to be able to stay competitive, because if we don't stay competitive in what we're doing, we're going to end up losing some of our inland traffic to other ports. So I know there's been talk about different things. There's talk about the Vallecillo Road as a potential way out. There's a Ruth and Jurachar Road that is coming up further up. But yet, we've talked, and this is even before your time, Kirby and Dan. Larry will remember this. We've talked for years and years on the Mines Road being at capacity, and yet we have not been able to come up with a solution to this problem. All we've done is put Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid on the Mines Road. If we're going to stay competitive, you got to spend money to make money. That's just the name of the game in business. I believe we need to really, really put a very concentrated effort in trying to figure out how we can put a road on top of the Mines Road that would handle everything coming off of the World Trade Bridge into that area. I think if we're going to be looking at long-term planning and long-term growth we really need to really move on getting something done that will benefit the city of Laredo and to allow it to continue growing in that area. As we've seen in a lot of the different master plans, a lot of the master plans are in that quadrant of the city. And they're in that quadrant specifically because of the World Trade Bridge, which makes a lot of sense. In the past, we had things scattered all over the city of Laredo, and I don't know if you guys were not here, but Larry will remember this when we had all those trailers on 35 stacking up, you know, for miles, and so will Dan. We were able to remove that by getting the World Trade Bridge on that other side. But like I said, we need to do a better job of figuring out how are we going to be able to allow growth in that whole quadrant, given that they're going to the same place. They're going to be crossing the World Trade Bridge. And that is really the key thing here that we got to really focus on. We have a developer here who's ready to move on his development. But now we're telling him, and this is no criticism to anyone, it's just my comment, guys, you know, we really need to figure out how we can get you on the Mines Road. I think we really need to figure out the solution to everything here, because the other thing we have to be cognizant of this fact is that we don't want to continue sending out the wrong message to the development community that is not only in the community, but outside the community, about how difficult it is to come into Laredo and try to get something accomplished. But like I said, to me, we need to look at a solution. I know we've been talking about solutions for quite some time, but yet nothing has been done in terms of different modes of roads to get traffic out. So that's my comment to everyone.
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chairman? This is Commissioner Dominguez.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let me thank you very much for allowing me to speak tonight. Commissioners, Dan mentioned the master plan. This master plan has been in place since 2003. Via Seal was the connection in Inter-America. It was decided by the MPO, by the City of Laredo, and by the RMA to move Via Seal to Mueller Boulevard. And this was done a couple of years ago. We have had an opportunity to go ahead and plat some of this property, so we took it upon ourselves to go in and make the move and not wait for the RMA to do it later. So that's what we've done, is we've moved Via Seal to Mueller Boulevard to allow, when that roadway gets built, that will allow those residents to never even step foot on Mines Road. They'll be able to go straight to I-35. And we thought that was a good suggestion, so that's why we did it. The second thing mentioned was the TIA. The current city ordinance doesn't require us to prepare a TIA. TxDOT, in their comments, which we had agreed to, said you all need to work with us and get a TIA done. And so we had agreed to do that, but it wasn't for the master plan. It was for our next item on here, which is the Unit 27 preliminary plat. So we've come back since July. We had the TIA done. We shared it with TxDOT. We shared it with Mr. McGee. And what ended up happening was they didn't like the level of service, or they didn't like the information. So they asked us to look at a IS engineering report that was provided to us by the city and by TxDOT. And so we looked at it, and Mr. Arredondo, our traffic engineer, prepared a second TIA, and we also used the southeast corner as a convenience store to make the intersection look even worse. So, and I'm not going to talk for Mr. Arredondo if you want to listen to his analysis, but the level of services don't vary too much from the IS engineering report to the report that Mr. Arredondo did. And it is very cumbersome for us to have to go back to something that, I don't think the city has a right to do by ordinance, because I call it, we were like in plat purgatory, because we actually have to come back 3 times. And I'm sure as you all know, once an application is submitted, it needs to be acted on in 30 days, and it's been 5 or 6 months now. So with that said, if you'd like to hear a presentation or some information from our traffic engineer, I'll go ahead and hand it over to him. But it's difficult because we can't share our screens. I mean, it's very difficult for us to kind of fight the case. The last thing I would want to add is, as we're extending Inter-America to the east, we're going to hit North Lamar. And Kirby, I don't know if you have the master plan. If you can pop that up. And so North Lamar is a parallel road to Mines Road. That road will come from Killam Industrial all the way to Inter-America, and it actually provides a parallel road to Mines Road, which we don't have today. It will alleviate some traffic off of Mines Road and the road that intersection, which is Killam Industrial and Mines Road. And that is never looked at in the TIA. People just, I mean, it's just something that wouldn't ever pop up in the TIA, but as just looking at the situation, that's not a very good map of the master plan. But anyway, so with that said, if you all would like to speak to Mr. Arredondo, he's like on a third-party call with me, Mr. Seca, so it might be some way. I hope you can hear me, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, we can. And yes, I think it would be appropriate to have Mr. Arredondo make a presentation.
Okay, thank you. Rene?
Yes, sir. Good evening, commissioners and Mr. Chairman. Again, my name is Rene Arredondo. I'm the traffic engineer with AC Group in San Antonio, and I was asked to evaluate and to look at this development of the TIA, which is requested by the city and more specifically by TxDOT. And it was specifically to look at the operations or the resulting operations at the intersection of Mines Road and Inter-America as a result of this development of the Killam Industrial Unit 27 with even a convenience store on the southeast corner. But it was not an intent to, I guess, to mitigate anything. It was more an information type report to understand the future operations. The TI was prepared using the City of Laredo traffic models. There were models that were developed about a year ago for a corridor retiming study. And we used those same models with pre-COVID traffic data and all the intersection geometrics as studied before in the retiming study. So we felt we had a really good model to go in and evaluate. What we did find is, as Mr. Ortiz or Dr. Ortiz was mentioning, is we did make some comparisons to a study that was conducted for TxDOT along the Mines Road corridor that evaluated those intersections as well. And that was the FM 1472 alternative intersection feasibility analysis. And what we found in their analysis and ours is that in the study, we looked at the morning, the AM, and the evening PM peak periods, and we found very similar results. While I completely agree with Mr. McGee, there are I guess, areas of congestion and high delay. But for the most part, the retiming study did its job, and there is progression along the northbound and southbound approaches to Mines Road. So the bad levels of service are on the cross street and on the left turns. So overall, by looking at the intersection as a whole, we can see levels of service C and D, which are acceptable during peak periods, but the cross streets will suffer a little bit. But that is part of the timing and how we work traffic signals for coordination and progression. I think the one thing I would like to point out is really the planning benefits. I mean, this is the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we need to focus on the planning. And like Dr. Ortiz mentioned, there is a large benefit to the additional or the benefits of circulation as this new development or the Inter-America, I guess, intersection is developed and tied into Mines Road. And we do provide additional connection or connectivity to Lamar, which will future provide connectivity to Vallecillo to the north and Killam Industrial to the south. So that's a huge benefit. It improves the circulation there. But and more so, as a result of that, we have an opportunity to relieve some of that Mines Road traffic because we can bypass Mines Road by now utilizing some of our east-west connections like Inter-America to Lamar and via the larger arterials. So basically, I guess just to summarize, keep this short, I don't disagree with Mr. McGee. There are poor levels of service on some of those approaches. And yes, there is congestion. It is Mines Road, but our work is to continue with development and mitigate as we go along. And part of that is working with the signals and what we have to do to work out there. So I guess with that, I will leave it open for any questions that any commissioner may have.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody in the commission have any questions for Mr. Arredondo?
Chairman.
Yes.
Yes, I comment because that requested some of one of the master plan is this master plan was approved, like it was mentioned earlier, about 15 years ago. And when you get the master plans at their initial stages and even at final, it hasn't been put into place. And once we see how that master plan comes into action, we see the effects of that master plan. And unfortunately, this one has created a lot of congestion. And when you open the door by wanting to modify the master plan, although I do agree that some of it was caused by the city, and maybe the city itself should help foot the bill. But once you open the door again, and we don't need to do studies because I think everybody on the commission drives through Mines Road on a regular basis, and we see the effects. And it is tough. And it's even tougher when you realize we're pausing a master plan that you know is one of the biggest employers in our city. And I'm the last one that wants to hurt progress in our city. But once you want to change a master plan, that the traffic studies, they just don't work. And I do agree with Commissioner Villarreal that Chairman Villarreal, that we need to be amenable to transportation industry. But we can't just throw our hands up in the air and just say, well, because it's a transportation plan, you know what, we'll give you whatever you want. So we all have to do something better, but just this whole master plan is created a disproportionate amount of traffic for the amount of land use that it has. And unfortunately, the state really hasn't helped out with, until recently, the Mines Road traffic area. And now that it's under construction, it just makes it worse. But that was my comment. And it's just the dilemma that we as the commission are stuck in, that ultimately we're going to have to cave because it is the transportation industry. But we have real problems that when we give people an opportunity to try to mediate out problems, nobody wants to meet the other side halfway.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner
Villarreal, you're muted.
Mr.
I had to
Chairman,
mute you because
may I speak, Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Villarreal, you're muted, Chairman. Chairman, you need to unmute yourself.
All right, let me recognize Commissioner Dominguez first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I agree with Joy Davis, Commissioner Davis, on his comments, but I have what I consider a very good comment. When we want something to be done, we need to put pressure. And I believe that TxDOT has been lagging because we have not put enough pressure on TxDOT to help and create more infrastructure for that area. I strongly believe that we should approve this master plan, the reconsideration of the master plan, not because Killam is one of the biggest employers of this area, but also because that particular industrial park will create employment and will create money in the form of taxes for our city. That being said, if we deny it, then we're going to have to deny all the permits and all the master plans or development in that area, because otherwise it wouldn't be fair. I mean, we know that Mines Road, it's a mess at one time or another, but the only way we can get things done is by applying pressure and creating the infrastructure, not placing the burden on the developer, but actually putting pressure on Texas and the city of Laredo to come with answers, Mr. Chairman. Because
yes, sir.
The answer is not to deny, but the answer is to approve and continue with the development. I'm ready to make a motion to approve the consideration of the Carmen Industrial Park, Mr. Chairman, because I think that's the right thing to do at this time.
All right, let me recognize Commissioner Dueñas. He wanted to have a comment. Commissioner Dueñas.
Gracias, Chairman. Solo quiero asegurarme que demos la decisión por las razones correctas. Quiero diferenciar en dos tipos de tráfico. Este asunto yo lo recuerdo bien que ya lo vimos. El tráfico de las minas es algo que no podemos pedir que los inversionistas nos lo vayan a resolver. Y el tráfico al interior del parque industrial. Yo les decía que quería yo ver las entradas y salidas a ese parque industrial, que es muy pequeño, son 40 acres, ¿verdad? Y yo no le veo problema para que lo aprobemos. Les voy a decir por qué, compañeros. Porque si fuera por el tráfico de las minas, no deberíamos de aprobar ningún parque industrial. Ya aprobamos la extensión de fase 4 y 5 de New Trade Center, aprobamos una extensión de Interamérica, aprobamos varios parques industriales, varios cambios de terreno allí en las minas, más al norte, más hacia Colombia, y todo ese tráfico va a venir por las minas. Entonces, ese no es la razón, el tráfico no es la razón por la cual debemos negar esto. Por el contrario, este parque estamos deteniendo el desarrollo de nuestra ciudad. Yo creo que esta moción se debe de aprobar. No es ahorita el comentario, pero el comentario es en relación al tráfico de las minas. CBP mandó todos los trailers vacíos a cruzar por el puente de Colombia. Esos trailers vacíos van a venir por las minas y nos van a causar más problema. Lejos de parar un parque industrial pequeño de 40 acres, creo que debemos de buscar la relación como ciudad con CBP para que sus trailers vacíos los vuelvan a mandar por Walter Beach. Suban a Loop 20, vayan a la 35 y desfogar el tráfico. Eso sí nos va a causar un problema grande en las minas, el que manden las trailers vacías. Yo solamente quiero insistir, ya vi la entrada y salida, fui a esta parte de las minas hoy en la mañana y no le veo problema para detener este parque industrial. Creo que lo debemos de aprobar. Gracias.
Gracias. Anybody else on the commission want to make any comments?
Yeah, let me make some comments.
Yes, sir.
I have a concern that somebody comes before the commission and it takes you 7 months to make a decision on something that can be rectified, in my opinion, relatively easily. This 1,200 acre tract was approved in 2003. The city at that time, and I had the privilege of being the city manager at the time, took the bull by the horns and constructed the road to Mines Road. That's how you got relief. From that point on, nothing else has been done to the area where all this traffic occurs. Plats have been approved, master plans have been approved, and now you have a master plan that comes in with a portion. He's not asking you for approval of the master plan. It's already been approved. He's asking you to approve the revision that includes a small tract of land like Mr. Dueñas talks about. And I think that reasonable minds can reach agreement and compromise. You can't make one developer, because you see that he has more resources, take on the burden where TxDOT, in my opinion, should have been all along. But instead of addressing the Mines Road, TxDOT was more interested in going out and paying for $20 million for Camino Colombia that nobody used. And nobody used until recently when they stopped charging tolls. And so the investment by the state agency went to La La Land and nobody used it. Now it's starting to be used. And so now you see some traffic coming through the farm to market road that is really not constructed, and it's coming apart because of what occurred. So I think the focus should be on the state agency to approve Mines Road in order to be able to clear up the traffic. As far as planning, the biggest mistake that we ever did, I think, was to allow Indian Sunset development to take place and La Bota to take place. And you can clearly see the problem now when you have the traffic and you have the residential vehicles intermingling with the traffic that makes it almost impossible for the truck drivers not to have an accident. Because these guys dart in and out through the trucks, trying to get to wherever they're going. And until that's resolved, you know, that's going to continue to be a problem.
Sure.
I don't believe in denying the plat unless you include a moratorium for every plat in this area. You just approved a huge development, Pinnacle, which is further down the road, which also is going to be shooting things down here. And I guess nobody was concerned about that because it was so far away. You know, you got to play with a level playing field for all parties that are concerned. And if you need to do capital improvements, then you need to bite the bullet. You go to the MPO and they show you the Vallecillo Road as a 2022 letting or 2023 letting. You go to the Ruthinger Road, you go to a 2023, 24 letting. You know, where is the impetus there to push these projects forward? And we now have a session of the legislature that is coming on board pretty soon. And I would think that everybody in this city, at least in positions of leadership, should be visiting the Capitol every week to try to get TxDOT to commit some more money to do these roads, not in 2023 or 2024, but tomorrow, to start the designs, to put the designs on the shelves and try to get them funded. Because otherwise, this quagmire is going to get worse.
Yes, sir. All right. Anybody else?
Nope.
All right.
Forward.
If nobody else has any comments, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the reconsideration of the Kellam Industrial Park Master Plan.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item. Consideration of the following preliminary plats and preliminary replats. Item A. Preliminary consideration of the plat of Kellam Industrial Park, Unit 27. The intent is industrial.
Mr. Chairman, the overview, applicant is Kellam Development Limited. Yes, sir.
I think in the interest of time, it's sufficient to just say that this is the one phase of the master plan that you just approved.
That's correct. Yes. So I think, do we have a motion?
I'm ready, Ugalde.
All right.
I'll second.
Who seconded? Larry? Dominguez. All right. We have a motion and we have a second for approval.
Can I just say that you're probably like the last one, you're motioning to approve, you're just striking the comments for traffic.
That's correct.
I will change my motion to approve striking the comment from traffic. That's Ugalde.
All right. So we have a motion and we have a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard. Motion carries. Next item. Preliminary consideration of the plat of North Laredo Industrial Park Phase 4, intended industrial.
Next slide. Overview of North Laredo Industrial Park Limited. The engineer of record, Howland Engineering, approximately 380 acres located north of Beltway Parkway. The zoning is M1. The proposed use is industrial. The proposed number of lots is 24. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed plat, the second part of the proposed plat, comments from planning.
Wait a minute. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Water utilities, traffic safety and utility coordination, TxDOT, and the proposed motion.
All right, you have the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Villarreal is on the line.
All right.
Good evening, Commission, Mr. Chairman, Ricardo Villarreal, Howland Engineering. We do concur with staff's comments. There is just one comment by utilities, comment number 4, no sewer easements in private property. I know in parentheses it says if it's possible. We actually are designing a lift station that will be going under I-35 that's gonna lead to the North Laredo treatment plant, or the Unitech treatment plant, I'm sorry. That's across the highway. Utilities have given us that directive to go that route because they are upgrading that treatment plant. So it now has capacity for this area. For us to do that on the east side of the highway, we have to put an easement on the Rusinger property on the east side of the highway. So that comment number 4, no sewer easements in private property. I just want to put it on record that that easement will be on private property. However, it is an easement dedicated to the city of Laredo.
All right. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Villarreal? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
So we got that motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Dueñas seconds. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. Next item. Preliminary consideration of the plat of El Edén subdivision unit 18. The intent is residential.
The applicant is Mimosa 2, the engineer of record, Porras Nance Engineering, approximately 15.8 acres located east of Highway 83 and south of Sierra Vista. The current zoning is R3 and R1MH. The proposed use is residential. The proposed number of lots is 92. General location, aerial view, street view, and proposed plat. Comments from planning, engineering and water utilities, traffic safety, utility coordination, and the proposed motion.
All right. Do you have the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Nance is on the line.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, this is Wayne. We agree with all comments from staff.
Very good. Thank you. Does anybody on the commission have any questions for Mr. Nance? Nobody has any questions. What are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve, Ugalde.
Ugalde? Second, Mr. Dueñas. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. Next item. Preliminary consideration of the plat of Lomas del Sur subdivision, unit 16A. The intent is residential.
The applicant, ALS Laredo Holdings, the engineer of record, Sherfy Engineering, approximately 7.6 acres west of Guaymas and north of Domingo Sainz Road. The zoning is R1A. The proposed use is residential and proposed lots is 43. General location, aerial view, street view, proposed plat. Comments from planning, water utilities and traffic safety, Parks and Recreation and Utility Coordination, and the proposed motion.
Okay. Is the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Estrada is on the line.
All right.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Frank Estrada with Sherfy Engineering, and we concur with staff comments.
Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Estrada?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Lovalina. Do we have a second?
Advice.
We have a second. All those not in favor? All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. Next item, preliminary consideration of the Plat Lomas del Sur, Unit 16B. The intent is residential.
Applicant, ALS Laredo Holdings, engineer of record, Sherf Engineering, approximately 11.3 acres located west of Guaymas and south of Juan Novoa. Zoning is R1A, proposed use is residential, and the proposed number of lots is 84. General location, aerial view, street view, proposed plat, comments from planning, water utilities and traffic safety, Parks and Recreation, Utility Coordination, and UISD, and the proposed motion.
Okay. Do we have Mr. Estrada on the line?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Frank Estrada for the record, and we concur with staff comments.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the commission? With none heard, can we have a motion?
Move to approve, subject to the following comments, not advice.
Advice, it's got a motion. Do we have a second? Dueñas, second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. Thank you. Next item, reconsideration of the following preliminary plats and preliminary replats. Preliminary consideration of the replat of lots 121, 122, and 123, Block 3, San Isidro West Antler Crossing Subdivision, Phase 1, and an unplatted 14.34 acre tract owned by San Isidro Southwest into San Isidro Southwest Antler Crossing Subdivision, Phase 3, and the granting of a variance to allow for a reduced rear setback from 20 feet to 10 feet. The intent is residential. All right.
The applicant is TDB Holdings Limited. Howland Engineering and Surveying is your record, approximately 32.8 acres, located south of San Isidro Parkway and west of Springfield. The zoning for this development is R1B. The proposed use is residential. Proposed number of lots is 68. And just for history, this item did receive final approval back on July 2nd. General location, aerial view, street view, the proposed plat. This is the existing master plan, and we have highlighted in red the area that is part of this proposed plat. It's approximately 32 acres. The engineer has provided elevations for the site, proposed elevations for the structures, how they propose to encroach into the setback. And
Rafa, if you'll allow me, the recommendation here is denial. The staff does not support the request for the variance. Without the variance, the way that they've submitted, they'd have to go back and resubmit. Now, the reason that we're recommending denial for this variance is because it doesn't meet the requirements for what a variance is. The city council makes the rules, and the state of Texas requires that when you do a zoning ordinance or when you change the zone, that the public gets to provide input. When we do a zone change, we're required to notice it public, goes out to the public gets input. Ultimately, you're providing a recommendation to city council, and then city council makes the decision because it's a legislative decision to change the rules. Variances are meant because when the rules that we make, the zones that we make, or when we have a land development rule, we can't anticipate all the consequences of that rule. And sometimes it results in a circumstance where a lot, because of something unique about that lot, can't be developed properly. And so a variance is there to allow for an exception, typically on one lot, something that's unique about the property. And none of these definitions of what a variance can be granted for are met in this condition. What the applicant is asking for is for you to change the rules on all the lots in this development to give them a 10-foot setback instead of a 20-foot setback. Now, I want to be very clear. You don't have to, commissioners, you don't have to tell me about how great this will be. We don't need 20-foot setbacks. 10-foot setbacks are great, and this will be a great product, because I'll already concede that. I'll already say those are good things. Yeah, we're looking at reducing setbacks through a process, through changing the rules with Recode, what we're doing. We're getting public input on that. I myself live in a home where we have 0 setbacks. So this isn't an argument about whether or not what they're doing is good. This is a very important argument about whether or not this is the proper way to do it. They could have sought a zone change for a PUD. We have a planned urban development zone that would allow them to go to actually 5-foot setbacks. And that would be the proper way of doing it, because when you change the rules, we got to notice the neighbors. If you recall, when we did the original zone change to R1B, we had a lot of public input. There were a lot of people in that neighborhood that came out to speak, some for, most against. And ultimately, the Planning Commission recommended approval, and the City Council approved it. But the state requires that when you change the rules, you let there be a public input process, and it's the City Council that makes that decision. The Planning Commission is an administrative body where you examine whether or not the rules apply. And in some cases, when the rules have created a circumstance where you basically strip someone of the ability to develop a piece of property, you can grant an exception because the rules didn't anticipate everything. You know, a good example of when a variance should be granted is sometimes there are regular shaped lots that, for whatever reason, historically, or how a piece of property is divided up because of slope or something, it's left in such shape that if you apply the setbacks to it, you have a developable area that's so small it just doesn't work, or you have to build a home that's triangular or weird. And so in those cases, a variance would be justified because you're saying, hey, the rules in this case don't apply well, so let's go ahead and ignore the setbacks, or let's reduce the setbacks. That would be a good reason, and we would support a variance in that case. In this case, the applicant is asking for a variance to basically ignore the rules, to change the rules. But by doing that, we're ignoring the state required process of going about it through a legislative process. Now, the one last thing I'll say is if you decide to grant a variance, well, if you don't, the applicant could still seek a PUD zone change, which is the proper way, and they could, and we would support that. And you would see it again, and it would go to City Council, and staff would support it. If you decide you want to grant the variance, you do need a 2/3 majority. In this case, because there are 8 of you here, you would need 6 instead of just the 5 to approve it. So the decision is yours, what you choose to do, but that is the direction, that's the recommendation of staff, and here's the proposed motion.
Kirby, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is this the same area that was impacted by the text dot with the issue on the frontage road there by 35 and Loop 20?
This is not the same. This is not the same. They're not developing those lots near where there was that issue, but it is the same master plan that was affected by that. Yes.
Okay,
but these lots aren't affected by that decrease. You know, that has nothing to do with the proposed development, the way they're seeking to do it. If you can see here, the development here isn't adjacent to the freeway. They're proposing right now just to plat these lots that are in the southeast corner, which is not adjacent to the freeway and not affected by that. But the way that worked out, I'm sure the applicant can tell you, worked out definitely in favor of the property owner here.
Kirby, the PUD, can you explain a little bit about PUD? It's a private unit development, is that correct?
It's a planned urban development zone, or planned unit development zone, requires a minimum of 20 acres. Here they have 32 acres, and in the master plan they have 124, so they definitely would qualify. Basically, they would bring a proposal like this to us and just say, hey, we just want to vary the setbacks a little. And we would look at the design and as they brought it forward, it's not a problem. And so we would support it. And, they would just go through the proper process of changing the rules rather than trying to do an exception.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ugalde.
Just a minute, let me finish here. The plan unit development then, all the infrastructure that would be constructed in the plan unit development, would that be public or private?
As I understand, they could do either. They could dedicate public streets or they could have private right-of-ways as well.
Okay, all right. All right, thank you. Mr. Ugalde, go ahead.
Yes, I have some questions. So they're asking for a replat on 3 lots only, right? For the setbacks variance?
No, they're asking for a variance on all the lots.
All the lots.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically, zone change.
So wouldn't they go to the city variance board? What is it, the adjustments? Board of Adjustments?
No, a board of adjustment is there for when a typically dealing with the building permit and building department, like somebody's been denied a building permit or they've been there's a stop work order or some issue there. They're coming in here with the platting, and the subdivision ordinance allows the planning commission to hear exceptions before it even gets to the building phase. Typically because there's an irregular shaped lot or something is the typical example.
And the variance that they want from 20 to 10, what side is that on? I can't see it. Is it just one side or?
It's the rear setback.
Setback.
From
Okay.
20 to 10.
That's right. I see it now. Okay.
Now, go ahead, Raul.
Okay. No, I'm just wondering that, I'm not sure if a PUD would have fixed their problem. And I'm assuming that they're custom homes and they don't sell until they have a buyer. So why would you do a PUD?
A PUD would definitely work, and it actually would allow them to go to 5-foot setbacks if they wanted to increase their buildable area even more.
Okay.
We're not arguing this is a bad thing. We think it's a good thing. It's just the wrong process to do it.
Kirby, I did see the letter that they send in where they're trying to do garden homes. We don't have a zone currently for garden homes, right?
Yes, sir. The PUD zone.
The PUD would be the one you would use?
Yes, sir. You have a lot of flexibility in the PUD zone to design it in a way like this.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So if we went to the PUD, what is the time involved to making it happen?
You come to the planning commission for a recommendation, and then you go to the city council for a first and second hearing, and the planning commission meeting is noticed as a public hearing. Larry, that's the process required by the state of Texas, not us.
I understand, but what is the length of time?
It's typically between 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months.
Chairman, can I ask Mr. Snyderman a question?
Sure.
Was this brought up to the developer at the time that they went to you guys?
Yes, sir, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Do we have the engineer of record on?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Villarreal is on the line.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, Ricardo Villarreal, Howland Engineering. I do want to give a little history on this project. The proposed use of this project are garden homes. So we approached the planning department about over a year and a half ago, a little bit more than a year and a half ago, with the knowing that we were going to do a garden home type development here. We kind of gave examples around the city. There's the Kalady Heights garden homes. There's some Monarch garden homes up in North Laredo on Monarch Drive that have the parameters that we were seeking. Back before this current administration, the way things were being done were by an SUP process that we wanted to start back in the day. We were told that the SUP really wasn't meant for that. So we
we rezoned it to R1B to make them the smallest lot possible because they were currently working on a different zone/ordinance to include garden type development in the city of Laredo. We asked what the time frame of that was, and they were hoping that within the year, that new zone, that new ordinance that would come in, part of the recode would already be in effect. We decided to kind of slow down a little bit as far as obtaining this new zone. We got our plans approved. We're currently under construction. And so now we're at the point where we wanted to move forward. We did discuss with the planning department the PUD process. However, the PUD process requires a certain acreage. The only lots that we're asking for a variance are just on these lots, not the 32 acres that the entire replat encompasses. The commercial tract that's just west of us, that's being commercial, that's B4. North of us, that's zoned R1, R1A. So that's gonna stay at a minimum of, I believe, 5,000 square foot lots. So when you just account for the variance that we're asking for just on these 66 lots, it's actually less than the requirement for a PUD, is less than the, I think, 20 acres. So we looked at different options. So we discussed this with the planning department, the PUD, and we said that we didn't qualify because we were under the required acreage. We did see that the planning and zoning actually does have the ability to grant a variance. Now, obviously, you would have to fall under one of those 4 categories that are outlined in the comments. The one that we're holding our hat on is the unique design consideration and what that warrants. Well, I think in everybody's mind, unique means, you know, triangles and weird designs and all that. Well, that is unique, but in this case, unique is that I can't do a garden home because there's no mechanism to do it with the city of Laredo. It is currently being worked on. So that's what makes this situation unique. We were trying to mimic what other developments did, and we were told that we couldn't do that. Now, the PUD process is mainly for development that you're trying to accommodate multiple things that you're trying to move away from the ordinance. Private streets, narrower streets, different street lights, different setbacks, smaller lots. Here, we're actually abiding by the minimum lot size per zone, R1B. We're abiding by the other setbacks. The only thing we're asking for is a back setback. Now, why do we want to do this? The developer wants to create a smaller price point for these types of homes. Instead of paying the $300,000, $330,000 for a starter home, he wants to be in the lower 200s. So in his development, he wants to provide for both price so that somebody can go. We had just talked about it earlier in South Laredo. Kind of go into a smaller home, then kind of upgrade as you move forward in life. So we went ahead and looked at the ordinance that saw that P&Z can actually grant this variance based on item number 3, the unique design consideration. Now, again, I repeat, unique design meaning that I cannot do it right now with the way the current rules are read. And this is coming also from the planning department. So that's what makes our development unique, in that the garden home that I want to provide, that's been provided around the city of Laredo, I cannot do that right now. And I just want, or we would like to request for the planning and zoning department just to grant that variance. And that's why we provided the elevation and the floor plans to show you that even in these small lots, a 2-car garage is going in. We don't want to mess with the 20-foot setback in the front so that we can provide for parking in the front lawn. So that's what the client's trying to accomplish here. We're already under construction here. At the very beginning, we were told that there was going to be a mechanism that was going to be in place. This should have happened close to, within a year when we first met, which is about a little more than half a year where we are now. So now we're kind of at the point where, hey, nothing came up. Now we need to come up with something, the different solution to make this happen. And that's where we're at. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on the commission? Okay, none heard. What are the wishes of the commission?
This is Ugalde. A motion to approve the request and go against staff recommendation.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second, Dueñas.
Dueñas seconds. Those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard. Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is the consideration of an extension of the following preliminary plat. Consideration of an extension to the preliminary plat approval of Loop Subdivision Phase 5, formerly known as Loop Subdivision Phase 3A. The intent is residential.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Kirby, I believe this is the wrong slide. Is there a different slide? Sorry.
No.
No. Okay. Okay. This is general location, aerial view, street view, the proposed plat, and the recommendation from staff, or the proposed motion.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the rest of approvals, can we hear them all together?
Well, just a minute. Let's finish with this one, and then we'll talk about the other ones in a second. This is just a consideration for the extension. That's it.
6 month extension, yes, Mr. Chairman.
That's what we need then. So I need a motion to that effect.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second from Mr. Lovalina. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard, motion carries. All right, Mr. Ugalde, we now have item 12 that has A through I. And we have item 13A. So can you make a motion?
Make a motion to hear those items together.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that motion?
Say a second.
Say a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard. Motion carries. Now can we have a motion for approval?
So move motion to approve items.
All right.
Say a second.
Say a second. All those who are not in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. None heard. Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next item, director's comments.
Yes, as I always do, I want to thank each and every one of you planning commissioners for your service. I want to say as well today, you win some, you lose some. Today, as staff, the recommendations we had, you disagreed with them, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. We don't really see them as wins or losses here. We do our best to provide the recommendations that we feel are conducive with our responsibility as city planners. Now, you don't have to agree with us, and you may not agree with us, and that's perfectly fine. Our respect for you doesn't change. Our respect for your service and your commitment to this community doesn't change. And we hope that you always see us as a resource. If you have any questions, if there's anything you want to discuss, or anything you need from us, we're here for you as staff to facilitate your jobs as planning commission members. So again, thank you for your service very much. And I hope everyone has a happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Kirby, and thank you very much for everything. And commissioners, you all have a good Thanksgiving, and you all stay safe.
Deus motion.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
All right, Deus, a motion to adjourn, second by Ugalde.
Ugalde.
All those in favor?
Aye.
None heard. Motion carries. Thank you all very much. We'll see you later.